Does anyone have any small change? Could you spare 2 yuan for a meal? Just 2 yuan. Does anyone have some coins left? Please, could I get 2 yuan to eat a meal? At Longhua bus station, there is a young woman who hasn't eaten for 3 days. She still hasn't found a job. Is there anyone kind enough to help her out a little? She's staying near Qinghu, Longhua bus station. 3 days without food and still no work. I recorded a short video right here at Qinghu subway station. She's truly pitiful. 3 full days without anything to eat, brothers. If it were me, I'd have collapsed from hunger by now. Even my own customers are telling me that this month has been the hardest time of their lives. Not because they can't sell, but because no one is buying. This year might actually be the best year we'll have in the next 20. Business will only get worse, and the future is becoming more difficult by the day. In Xujiahui, tourism has taken a bleak downturn. Every July and August, it used to be packed with tourists like ants, but this year, the tourist areas are completely empty. Is this supposed to be the peak tourist season in Xujiahui? So many tour buses are just sitting idle. It's the same everywhere. No movement, no passengers. Lately, many of my middle-aged friends have lost their jobs, suddenly and without warning. Some who ran small shops also had to shut down abruptly. I asked, "Why so sudden?" They said, "I don't know, the company just said it's over," just like that. This year has been too hard. People have no income, no cash in hand. What could you possibly sell to them? The business environment is terrible. Even goods that manage to get sold are often returned. Those with money can barely survive. Those without can't even afford to eat. Everyone talks about stimulating consumption. Yesterday, I went out shopping and spent 500 yuan. What struck me the most is, bad business isn't just your problem. Don't even mention small businesses like mine. Even large shopping malls are eerily empty. A 6-floor shopping center had barely any visitors. Inside, only the shop owner or one staff member. If you walk in, you might get swarmed by 10 people desperate to serve you. Just look around. How many people do you see? So few that it's heartbreaking. Don't worry, boss. You're not the only one struggling. I feel like the second half of this year will be just as unstable. We wanted to test whether this would be a busy season, but the whole country is empty. Honestly, there's no one. No one goes out shopping anymore. What future do physical retail stores have left? I think they'll be gone in just 2 more years. Honestly, this is something we are powerless to change. The Chinese economy is undergoing a prolonged recession. Every industry is in serious decline. Traditional shops are closing en masse, and unemployment is everywhere. Those who can't find work are wandering the streets. Those who can't make money are struggling just to survive. On the popular Chinese Q&A platform Jihu, one topic sparked heated discussion. With high unemployment and high debt, how are ordinary people supposed to live? One blogger summarized the debt crisis now spreading throughout China, from the central government, local governments, private enterprises, state-owned companies, developers, homebuyers, office workers, and even college students. Everyone is drowning in debt, and no one can untie this knot. Given the current job market, it's simple. Get a job and be exhausted. Fail to get one and starve. I recently helped an e-commerce firm hire for a 3,500 yuan month operations role, but their demands were absurd. Top-tier university degree, under 30, willing to work unpaid overtime, and accept half salary during probation with no social insurance. At least 2 of these conditions are illegal. It's no surprise a fresh graduate in Hangzhou had a mental breakdown after ending up as a subway security guard. That's the reality now. Under a bridge where many homeless people used to sleep, we would leave leftover steamed buns and old clothes in a corner for them to take freely. But in recent years, there's been no one. Today, I went back to check and found the area fenced off with wire mesh, and the ground covered in sharp stones. Right now, there are so many people scraping by with odd jobs and temporary gigs. Some are living off their dwindling savings, while others don't even have that left. Some have had their wages cut, others were laid off, and some quit on their own. Among my friends, many of whom work in government offices, Everyone seems lost. We haven't talked for a while, and when we do, it's always bad news. Some merchants have closed shop or gone bankrupt. Those who remain are barely hanging on. The atmosphere is thick with negativity. Even factories have shut down. Air conditioning units have been stripped out. The business environment this year is terrible. Many factories have closed. People really need to cherish the jobs they still have. This factory used to do very well, manufacturing engines, but now it's almost empty. It was once packed with workers. Now barely anyone is left. The equipment has been dismantled, and the factory has officially shut down. A netizen from Sichuan predicted, if this continues, China may return to the hardship of the 1960s. Just surviving will be the top priority. Someone even warned that in 2025, amid economic recession and increasingly difficult times, 3 professions may boom: theft, robbery, and fraud. When people are unemployed, have no way to survive, and expenses keep rising, everything costs money. How will they live? When all other paths are cut off, many will be forced to choose theft, robbery, or scams just to stay alive. One netizen commented, "This situation is beyond fixing. When people don't even have enough to eat, when they're on the brink of starvation, who will still care about laws and morals? In small towns, there are no jobs. In big cities, the unemployed are returning en masse to their hometowns. The result is that unemployment is everywhere, and crimes like street robbery and gang violence will inevitably rise. Right now, ordinary people's lives are growing harder every day. Under these conditions, how is business even possible? Rent is over 3,000 yuan a month, and after working 16 hours a day, some earn less than 200 yuan. Even doing manual labor isn't easy. For those in their 30s and 40s, ages where they should be supporting families, they're earning just 16 or 17 yuan an hour. Even with 10 hours of work, they can't make 200 yuan a day. How can they feed their families like that? If not for the family members supporting them, many would probably find just staying alive to be a burden. If there were another life after this, would you want to come back again? How could I want that? There's nothing left to hope for. I've already given up. A 70-year-old man is still working on construction sites, barely making enough for food. He spends 10 yuan on a meal and doesn't dare eat meat. Without money, where can he eat? He says even if he has 50 cents, he's afraid to spend it. In recent years, as China's economy has declined and unemployment has soared, both young and middle-aged people have been under immense pressure just to survive. Tragedies keep happening one after another. In Hangzhou, everyone is under pressure these days. Just yesterday, someone jumped off a building at the South Railway Station. The day before, someone threw themselves in front of a train at the East Station. I went out to eat with friends last night and saw 2 people who were clearly mentally unstable. One was walking around cursing, the other just didn't look normal. I feel like everyone's mind is on edge now. Maybe it's the work environment, but lately there really are too many people in unstable mental states. One blogger raised the question, do ordinary people still have a future? In an era where everyone is a corrupt official, how can people who can't even afford medical care dare to dream of a future? Wanting a future? That's just wishful thinking. Being able to eat your fill is already considered lucky, but even that is becoming harder and harder. One netizen posted a video interview with a construction worker, an elderly man in his 60s, who said there's no work now, no income, and even having a meal is a problem. Another netizen sighed, "Life for the common people is truly hard. We can't even earn enough for basic living expenses. I'm over 60 and used to work as a mason, but now I can't even get work as an assistant laborer. Most places don't need people anymore, and if they do, they won't hire older workers. Even if you have skills, it's useless. There's just no work. If I manage to earn 20-30 yuan a day, that's already considered lucky, but even that opportunity is rare. Making 30 yuan a day would be great, but it's not realistic. Sometimes you can't even find work that pays 20 yuan. There are days I work 10 full days and only earn 50-60 yuan total, and it's still not enough to feed myself. All we ask for is work and food. The people don't demand much, just being able to eat their fill is enough to keep them from complaining. But now, even that's out of reach for many. With just 10 yuan, I have to ration my food for the entire day. Just plain rice, no vegetables, no sides, and even then, it's not enough. Some jobs only pay 7 yuan. If you ask around, you'll see that others are in the same situation. Everything I'm saying is the plain truth. The Chinese government has recommended that farmers use natural gas instead of coal. As a result, local farmers have voiced widespread complaints. Many elderly people who were left behind in rural areas could not withstand the cold and have already died. Villagers ask how many elderly people in nearby villages have frozen to death and whether the authorities have ever cared. However, the Chinese Communist Party strictly controls public discourse. Discussions related to these incidents are banned online, and videos on the subject are ordered to be deleted. On January 7th, a Japanese user from Yongjae village posted multiple videos on X. Some netizens commented that if coal is banned, people could burn other materials secretly, but villagers explained that anything burned will produce smoke, and smoke cannot be hidden. Once smoke appears, the smell spreads through the village. Surveillance drones patrol not only during the day, but also at night. If any household is found burning fuel, enforcement officers can identify it immediately. Once caught, families face fines ranging from 500 to 2,000 yuan, and all heating equipment is confiscated. Authorities also encourage neighbors to report one another, offering rewards for successful tips. People ask how anyone can trust others under such conditions, since no one can guarantee they will not be reported. A villager said that out of more than 100 households in the village, fewer than 10 actually use natural gas, mostly families with children. Everyone else can only endure the cold because there is no alternative. Every winter, many elderly people freeze to death. One resident bitterly remarked that this is what comprehensive poverty alleviation and a happy China look like. It is already 2026. Hebei province is right next to Beijing, yet people are still freezing to death. He questioned whether officials felt any shame, saying that outsiders might think this is still the dark days of the old society. He asked why the government can give hundreds of billions to Venezuela but cannot redirect even a fraction to its own citizens, wondering whether rural elderly would still be freezing to death if funds were used for public welfare. He sarcastically asked whether the authorities intended to solve China's aging problem by letting the elderly freeze. In 2017, in the name of improving air quality, the government and surrounding regions vigorously promoted coal-to-gas and coal-to-electricity conversion projects. In Hebei province, areas including Baoding, Langfang, and 18 county-level districts surrounding Beijing were designated as coal-to-gas zones. According to reports, the original estimated cost of coal-to-gas heating for rural households in Hebei was between 2,000 and 3,000 yuan. After switching to natural gas, however, costs started at 5,000 yuan and rose to 2 to 3 times previous levels, accounting for 30 to 50% of a farming household's annual income. In 2024, the average annual disposable income of rural residents in Hebei was about 22,000 yuan. Heating expenses became an enormous burden, while government subsidies were sharply reduced, dropping from 1 yuan per cubic meter to just 0.2 yuan. This is the core problem of rural heating. Initially, residents were told that gas installation would be subsidized by the state, but in reality, installation costs exceeded 3 yuan per square meter, making it more expensive than in Beijing. In the past, a few hundred yuan worth of coal was enough to last an entire winter. Now, under the banner of environmental protection, farmers are forced to shoulder the cost. They ask why farmers must pay for environmental protection when policies are imposed from above. Monthly gas bills now reach at least 2,000 to 3,000 yuan, a level many urban residents cannot afford. People from Hebei report that not only Hebei, but also rural areas in Henan are facing the same situation. A villager said almost no one in the village can afford gas heating, even as temperatures plunge. Another elderly person froze to death just days ago. Village elders shiver constantly, enduring the cold in silence. Residents say that families have already spent thousands or even tens of thousands of yuan on installation fees, while some cannot even afford installation. Coal burning is banned entirely. People ask whether such policies are meant to drive people to death, and whether the officials who made these decisions have parents living in rural areas who can afford gas heating. One resident said they told their mother not to worry about money and to turn on the heating whenever it gets cold. The mother replied that turning it on makes almost no difference. The indoor temperature is only a few degrees higher than outdoors. Meanwhile, the gas meter spins rapidly, with numbers rising as if launching a rocket. Villagers directly address officials, asking whether they have parents and whether they understand how long rural heating problems have persisted. Since the switch to gas heating, elderly people have frozen to death almost every winter. Residents ask whether the authorities truly do not care and whether action will only be taken after a major tragedy occurs. One young person said that while elderly people may not know how to speak out, younger generations will not stay silent, vowing to keep posting even if their accounts are shut down. In southern Hebei's rural areas, heating costs have become outrageously high. Residents recall that in childhood, about 1,000 yuan worth of coal was enough for an entire winter, keeping homes warm every day. Now coal is banned, and everything has been replaced with natural gas. For a 100 square meter house to maintain a minimum temperature of 18 degrees Celsius, about 20 cubic meters of gas are needed per day. At an average rural price of around 3.105 yuan per cubic meter, daily costs exceed 60 yuan, approaching 2,000 yuan per month. If families want to stay warmer, monthly costs exceed 3,000 yuan, and total winter expenses can surpass 10,000 yuan. Yet the average rural income in Hebei barely exceeds 20,000 yuan per year. Heating alone consumes more than half of a family's income. Rural pensions are extremely low, with elderly people receiving only 100 to 200 yuan per month, making heating completely unaffordable. Many elderly people can only wrap themselves in thick cotton clothing and endure the cold. Residents explain that traditional coal heating once made rural homes warmer than city apartments. Today, grandparents are reluctant to turn on gas heating because it is too expensive, even though their homes remain freezing. With coal banned, some villages have even sealed kitchen stoves to prevent cooking with fire. Videos show stoves in elderly homes being permanently blocked. Officials claim this is done to protect the environment. In another household, enforcement officers smashed through walls and beds during inspections. Residents ask how many elderly people must freeze to death before authorities take responsibility, while gas meters on walls spin rapidly, displaying consumption almost second by second. Some people suggest using electric heaters or cooking with electricity, but villagers say electricity is also expensive. China uses tiered electricity pricing where higher usage results in higher rates, leading to shocking electricity bills. People across Hebei, Henan, and other northern provinces report similar bans on coal and firewood. In some areas, natural gas prices are even higher than in Hebei. Ironically, urban residents can survive winter on 2,000 yuan, while rural families must spend 5,000 to over 10,000 yuan. To maintain the minimum northern standard of 18 degrees Celsius, households need 20 to 30 cubic meters of gas per day. In areas like Xujiahui, daily heating costs range from 60 to 90 yuan, resulting in winter costs between 7,500 and 11,000 yuan, 3 to 5 times higher than in Beijing. Before coal-to-gas conversion, rural families spent only about 2,000 yuan per winter. Many outsiders do not realize how dire conditions are now. In sub-zero temperatures, villagers cannot afford gas yet, are forbidden from burning coal. Rural gas prices are higher than those in Beijing, forcing families to spend 70 to 80 yuan per day just on heating. Over an entire winter, costs easily reach several thousand yuan or more, far beyond what farming and odd jobs can support. Some suggest secretly burning coal, but villagers say regulation is suffocating. Even a trace of smoke or coal smell can be detected, and drones patrol at night. Violations result in fines, making life especially difficult for households with elderly people and children. Online, people from Hebei are often told to stop complaining, only to hear similar grievances from residents of Henan and other provinces who say they also cannot afford heating. China's rural pensions remain extremely low. In some provinces, the minimum rural pension in 2025 is only about 158 yuan per month, varying slightly by location. Large numbers of Chinese netizens have called for attention to the rural heating crisis in Hebei, but authorities have banned discussion. Topics related to rural heating repeatedly reached trending lists on platforms like Weibo, only to be blocked with notices stating that content could not be displayed. Users on X commented that this is no longer a cutoff line, but an assembly line of silencing, calling it a clear example of Communist Party behavior. Some conclude that only by overthrowing the Chinese Communist Party can ordinary people live decent lives. The speaker ends by thanking viewers for their support and asking them to like, subscribe, comment, and share the video, promising to return in the next episode.